The great hall of the Galactic Council stretched out like a metal ocean. Captain Kim Dae-ho stood in the center, his black uniform crisp against the alien crowd around him. Above him, thousands of beings from across the galaxy watched from floating seats. Some had tentacles instead of arms. Others glowed with inner light. A few looked like walking crystals that sang when they moved. Kim Dae-ho had seen it all before. He had fought beside some of these species. He had saved others from pirates and war. That day they were deciding if humans belonged in their galaxy. The council speaker, a tall blue creature with 4 eyes, raised one long arm. The hall fell silent except for the soft humming of translation devices. "We are here to judge the human species," the speaker said. His voice echoed through the chamber. "They have been among us for 50 years, and that time they have shown abilities that concern this council." Kim Dae-ho kept his face calm, but his hands were tight behind his back. He knew what was coming. The humans had always been different. While other species took centuries to change, humans learned fast. Too fast for some people's comfort. Admiral Park So-young sat in the human section. She was older now, her gray hair pulled back in a simple style. She had been fighting for human rights in the council for 20 years. Today might be her last day doing it. "The charges," the speaker continued, "are as follows. The humans advance too quickly in technology. They make friends with species that others fear. They solve problems with methods that make other species uncomfortable." A low murmur went through the hall. Kim Dae-ho almost smiled. They were afraid of humans because humans were good at making peace. The first witness floated forward. It was Counselor Vexthel from the crystalline hegemony. His body was made of living crystal that changed colors when he spoke. "Honored Council," Vexthel said, his voice like wind chimes. "I speak of the borderland wars. For 300 years, my people fought the metal clans. Millions died. Then the humans arrived. The crystal beings' colors shifted to dark blue." Kim Dae-ho remembered those days. He had been young then, just a lieutenant on a patrol ship. Humans did not take sides, Vexthel continued. Instead, they invited both sides to a feast. A feast. In the middle of a war zone. They said they wanted to learn about both cultures. More murmurs filled the hall. Kim Dae-ho remembered that feast. Captain Lee Jae-hoon had been in command then. The man could turn enemies into friends just by sharing food with them. By the end of the feast, Vexthel said, my people and the metal clans were trading stories instead of weapons. The war ended in 3 days. 3 days. He'd been fighting for 3 centuries. The council speaker nodded slowly. And this troubles you because Vexthel's crystals turn deep red, because it should not be possible? Wars do not end with dinner parties. There should be treaties, negotiations, years of careful diplomacy. The humans make it look easy. Admiral Park So-young stood up from her seat. Permission to respond, honored council? Granted, the speaker said. Park So-young stepped forward. She had been a ship captain once, like Kim Dae-ho. Now she wore the gold uniform of a diplomat, but her eyes still held the steel of someone who had fought in the dark between stars. Honored council, she began, we did not start that war. We did not ask for it to last 300 years. When we arrived, we saw 2 groups of people fighting. We asked ourselves, why do they fight? The answer was simple. They had forgotten why they started fighting. They only remembered that they were supposed to hate each other. She walked slowly around the center circle, her voice carrying clearly. It's so we reminded them of something else. We reminded them that they were people first, enemies second. We showed them that sharing food is more fun than sharing bullets. A creature that looked like a walking tree creaked as it moved. But this is exactly the problem. You make difficult things seem simple. You make other species look foolish for not solving their problems the way you do. Kim Dae-ho wanted to speak, but he knew his place. He was here to listen, not to defend. That was Admiral Park's job. Honorable Treewalker Gramoth, Park So-young said, we do not think other species are foolish. We think they are careful. Perhaps. Too careful. Sometimes the simple answer is the right answer. Another council member spoke up. This one was covered in silver scales and had too many teeth. What about the Void Plague incident? Your response was highly irregular. Kim Dae-ho remembered that one too. A disease that ate through ship hulls like acid, had killed thousands, and left entire fleets floating dead in space. The Council had tried quarantine, weapons, even abandoning whole systems. Admiral Park nodded. We sang to it. The hall erupted in angry sounds. Chirps, roars, crystalline ringing, and electronic beeps filled the air. The speaker raised both arms for silence. You sang to a disease that was killing millions, the scaly council member said. Explain this madness. Dr. Choi Min-jun discovered that the plague was not really a disease, Park So-young explained calmly. It was a form of life. It's a very lonely form of life. It was trying to communicate, but the only way it knew how was to connect with metal. Unfortunately, this destroyed the metal. Right. The tree walker creaked again. So you sang to it? We sang to it, Park So-young confirmed. Songs from Earth, songs from 100 human worlds, songs that spoke of friendship, of understanding, of not being alone in the dark. Kim Dae-ho remembered watching the plague ships change course after hearing those songs. Instead of attacking, they had begun to dance. The plague had turned into something beautiful, leaving their ships and forming patterns of light in space. Plague is now a protected species, Park So-young continued. It helps ships navigate through dangerous space. It was never evil, it was just lonely. The council speakers for eyes blinked in sequence. Death. These examples demonstrate exactly why. We have called this session, Humans Solve Problems in Ways That Other Species Cannot Predict or Understand. This makes you dangerous. Admiral Park So-young looked up at the floating seats around them. Dangerous to who? To the pirates we stopped? To the wars we ended? The diseases we befriended? Dangerous to the order of things, Vexel said quietly. His crystals had turned a worried yellow color. You make the impossible look easy. You make other species wonder why they have not tried your methods. You change things. Kim Dae-ho finally understood. The council was not afraid that humans would conquer the galaxy. They were afraid that humans would inspire it. The speaker raised his arms again. Council has deliberated long on this matter. We find the human species guilty of excessive effectiveness in diplomacy, excessive innovation in problem-solving, and excessive success in turning enemies into allies. He paused, letting the words settle over the hall like a heavy blanket. Therefore, by unanimous vote, humanity is exiled from council space. You have 30 standard days to remove all human presence from civilized systems. You will be permitted to settle beyond the outer rim where your methods can no longer disrupt the established order. The hall fell silent. Kim Dae-ho felt something cold settle in his stomach. 30 days to abandon everything they had built. Admiral Park So-young stood straight, her chin up. We understand the council's decision. We'll comply with the exile order. As the session ended and the alien delegates began to leave, Kim Dae-ho heard Vexel whisper to another council member, perhaps in isolation, they will learn restraint. Kim Dae-ho smiled then, though no one could see it. The crystalline hegemony had no idea what they had just done. Humans did not learn restraint in isolation. They learned to be creative. 15 years had passed since the exile. Commander Lee Jae-min stood on the observation deck of Forge Station Alpha, watching massive construction ships work around a dead star. The star had burned out millions of years ago, but humans had found a use for it. The gravity was perfect for holding together the biggest shipyard anyone had ever built. Another batch of hull plates ready for assembly, reported engineer Choi Hee-jin over the comm system. Her voice carried the excitement it always had when she talked about building something new. The new alloy is testing 40% stronger than anything we had in council space. Lee Jae-min smiled. When the council had kicked them out, they thought they were punishing humanity. Instead, they had given them freedom. No more rules about what technology they could develop. No more limits on how fast they could innovate. No more committees to approve every new idea. Good work, Hai-Jen, he replied. How many ships can we launch this month? 12 heavy cruisers, 30 frigates, and 6 of those new explorer vessels. Captain Yoon designed, Lee Jae-min nodded. Captain Yoon Tae-woo had become something of a legend in the past 15 years. While other humans focused on building bigger guns or stronger shields, Yoon built ships designed to make friends. His explorer vessels had more meeting rooms than weapon bays. They carried gifts instead of bombs. The comm system crackled again. "Commander, we have an incoming transmission from Captain Yoon's fleet. They're in the Harmony 7 system." Him through. Captain Yoon's face appeared on the main screen. Behind him, Lee Jae-min could see what looked like living crystals floating in zero gravity. They pulsed with soft light and sang in harmonious tones. Commander Lee Yoon said with a grin, "I want you to meet the singing crystals of harmony. 7, they have been fighting something called silicon parasites for the past 100 years. The parasites eat their song crystals and make them silent."
Ow.
One of the crystal beings floated closer to the screen. When it spoke, its voice was like a gentle wind chime. "Greetings, human commander. Captain Yoon has offered to help us fight the parasites. We are curious about this offer." Lee Jae-min had learned to trust Yoon's instincts about alien species. The captain had a gift for understanding what people needed, even when those people were made of living crystal. "What do you need from us, Captain?" Lee Jae-min asked. "Permission to modify 3 of our new frigates with harmonic weapons," Yoon replied. "The parasites hate sound frequencies that match the crystal's natural song. We can tune our weapons to sing death to parasites and life to crystals. Approved. What else?" "Medical supplies for crystal beings," Dr. Kim Sun-woo thinks. "She can create a treatment that will help damaged crystals regrow their song centers." Lee Jae-min looked at the crystal being on the screen. In council space, first contact with a new species meant months of paperwork, committees, and careful negotiations. Humans just started helping and asked questions later. Dunny said, "Anything else you need?" The crystal being pulsed brighter. "This is most unusual. Do you not wish to know what we can offer in return?" Captain Yoon laughed. "Friend Crystal, we help because helping is the right thing to do. If you want to be our friends afterward, that is a bonus." 3 days later, the silicon parasites were extinct. The singing crystals had not only joined the Human Confederation, but it also shared the secret of harmonic shielding. Their technology could protect ships using sound waves instead of energy barriers. Engineer Choi Ha-jin was already working on ways to combine crystal harmonics with human engineering. She called it singing armor and claimed it would revolutionize space defense. Meanwhile, on the other side of human space, Captain Ko Minesio was dealing with a different kind of first contact. Her ship, the Friendly Negotiator, drifted alongside what looked like a cloud of glowing gas. They called themselves the Nomadic Cloud Dancers, she reported to Commander Lee over subspace radio. They live their entire lives in space, moving from system to system. The problem is, they are running out of places to go. "What is driving them away?" Lee Jae-min asked. "Solid matter," Captain Ko replied. "Planets, asteroids, space stations. Anything solid disrupts their energy patterns. They need empty space to survive, but the galaxy is getting more crowded every year." Lee Jae-min frowned. This was a new kind of problem. How do you help people who are hurt by the very idea of solid matter? What do they need? Mobile space. Cities that can move with them. Platforms that float in their energy clouds without disrupting their dance patterns. Within a week, engineer Choi Ha-jin had designed floating platforms that moved like jellyfish through space. They were made of materials that bent energy instead of blocking it. The cloud dancers could live on them while maintaining their eternal dance through the void. The cloud dancers were so grateful that they offered to become humanity's mobile sensor network. They could detect approaching ships from light years away and send warnings faster than any radio signal. Back in council space, rumors were beginning to spread. Traders who ventured beyond the outer rim brought back stories of the Human Confederation. They spoke of species that had never been cataloged by the council, told tales of new technologies that seemed impossible. Councillor Vexel received these reports in his crystal chamber on the council homeworld. His colors shifted to worried purple as he read each one. "The humans are supposed to be learning restraint," he muttered to his aide, a younger crystal being named Scython. "Perhaps they are learning elder," Scythoner suggested carefully.
Out.
"Reports say they have not conquered anyone. They have not demanded tribute or territory. They simply help other species solve problems." Vexel's crystals flashed red. That is exactly the problem. They are doing it again, making the impossible look easy. A new report had just arrived from a Council spy satellite at the edge of the Outer Rim. It showed massive human shipyards built around dead stars. It showed fleets of ships unlike anything in Council space. It showed space stations where dozens of species work together in harmony. How many species have joined them? Vexthal asked. Scythoner consulted his datapad. At least 47 confirmed species. Elder, possibly more. Many of them were unknown to the Council before human contact. 47, Vexthal whispered. His crystals turned the deep black color of fear. In 15 years they have made more friends than most Council species make in 1,000 years. On the bridge of Forge Station Alpha, Commander Lee Jae-min watched another new species arrive for the monthly Confederation meeting. These were the Void Swimmers, beings that lived in the space between dimensions. Captain Song Woo-jin had met. Then when his ship's experimental drive accidentally slipped into their realm, instead of being angry about the intrusion, the Void Swimmers had been curious about the solid realm dwellers in their strange ships. Now they served as humanity's interdimensional scouts, warning of threats that existed in parallel realities. Commander, Engineer Choi Hai-jin called from her station. I am reading massive energy signatures from the direction of Council space. Multiple fleets moving at high speed. Lee Jae-min frowned. Toward us. No, sir. The signatures suggest they are moving to reinforce border positions. It looks like they are expecting trouble. What kind of trouble requires that many ships? Before Choi Ha-jin could answer, Captain Yoon's voice crackled over the comm system. All ships. This is Priority Alert 1. Long-range sensors have detected Devourer signatures in the outer dark. Repeat. We have Devourers moving toward Council space. Lee Jae-min felt ice form in his stomach. The Devourers were machine intelligences that consumed organic life. They had vanished from the galaxy 1,000 years ago. Most people thought they were myths. How many ships? He asked. Thousands, Yoon replied grimly. Maybe tens of thousands. They are moving in a coordinated pattern toward 3 major Council worlds. Lee Jae-min looked at the tactical display showing both human space and Council space. The Council fleets were scattered, many of them positioned to watch for human expansion rather than external threats. Sir, Choi Hai-jin said quietly, the Council defense fleets are not in position to stop that many Devourers. They will be overwhelmed. Lee Jae-min thought about the exile 15 years ago. He thought about Counselor Vexthal's final words about humans learning restraint. Signal all Confederation fleets, he ordered. Prepare for immediate deployment toward Council space. Sir, his communications officer asked, what should I tell them our mission is? Lee Jae-min smiled the same way Captain Kim Dae-ho had smiled. 15 years ago in the Council chambers. Tell them we are going to crash a party. We were not invited. Ambassador Nam Soo-jin stood before the great viewing screen on board the diplomatic vessel Bridge Builder. Behind her, representatives from 47 different species waited quietly. Today was the day she would change everything. She wore a simple white dress that seemed to shimmer between dimensions. Half of her appearance looked solid and human. The other half flickered like starlight, showing her connection to the void-touched realm. It was a sign of the bond she shared with Prince Kelthor. My friends, she began, her voice carrying both human warmth and the strange harmony of void speech. I have called this gathering to share wonderful news. Prince Kelthor of the Void Touched has asked me to be his wife. I have said yes. The assembled beings erupted in celebration. The singing crystals chimed beautiful melodies. The cloud dancers swirled in happy patterns. Even the normally serious Treewalker delegates creaked with joy. Captain Yoon Tae-woo, now serving as her military escort, smiled broadly. He had watched Soo-jin grow up in the Human Confederation. Her father, Admiral Park Byung-ho, had been like a second father to many of the younger officers. When will this union take place? Asked Elder Harmony, the leader of the crystal beings. Soo-jin's expression grew serious. That is where we face a problem, dear friends. According to Void Touch tradition, the wedding must be held in the space where both of our peoples first met. That place is Council space, near the border world of Nexus Prime. Uncomfortable. Silence fell over the assembly. Everyone knew the problem. Humans were still exiled from Council space. Any human ship that crossed the border would be considered an invasion force. Captain Menesio, who commanded the escort fleet, spoke up from her position near the tactical display.
Ambassador,
Have you considered asking the Council for special permission? This is a diplomatic marriage between two species. Surely they would understand. Sujin shook her head. Tried, Captain. 3 months ago, we sent formal requests through every diplomatic channel we could find. The Council's response was very clear. No humans are allowed in Council space under any circumstances, no exceptions. Prince Kelthor materialized beside her, his form shifting between solid matter and void energy. When he spoke, his voice seemed to come from everywhere at once. My people are bound by ancient laws, he said. The wedding must take place where the void touched first learned of solid realm dwellers. If it cannot happen there, it cannot happen at all. Dr. Kim Sun-woo, the Confederation's chief diplomat, stepped forward. She had been working on this problem for months. What if we held the ceremony at the exact border? We could position ships on both sides of the line. The void energy required for the ritual extends 50,000 kilometers, Prince Kelthar explained. The ceremony site must be deep within Council space for the marriage to be valid. Captain Song Woojin, monitoring communications from the outer system, suddenly straightened. Ambassador, I am receiving a priority transmission from Admiral Park Byung-ho. He is requesting immediate conference with all senior officers. The holographic form of Admiral Park Byung-ho appeared in the center of the room. His hair was completely gray now, but his eyes still held the fire that had made him a legend during the exile years. Behind him, Fleet Captain Kim Dae-ho stood at attention. My daughter, the Admiral said, I have heard about the Council's refusal. I want you to know that your happiness is more important to me than any political boundary. Sujin felt tears form in her eyes. Father, I know you would do anything for me, but I will not ask you to start a war just so I can get married. Admiral Park smiled the way he used to when she was a child and said something that surprised him. Who said anything about starting a war? I am talking about delivering wedding invitations. Captain Kim Dae-ho stepped forward on the transmission. Sir, are you suggesting what I think you are suggesting? I am suggesting, Admiral Park said. Slowly, that if the Council will not allow us to attend a wedding peacefully, then we will attend it as conquerors. But we will conquer them with invitations instead of invasions. The room fell silent as everyone tried to understand what the Admiral meant. Every species in Council space will receive a personal invitation to the wedding, Admiral Park continued. We will deliver these invitations using the largest fleet humanity has ever assembled. We will arrive at every major Council world simultaneously. Engineer Choi Hai-jin, joining the conference from Forge Station Alpha, appeared on a secondary screen. Sir, that would require coordinating attacks on 17 different star systems. The logistics alone would be impossible. Not attacks, Admiral Park corrected. Deliveries. We will arrive with invitation cards, gift registries, and RSVP instructions. We will broadcast cultural exchanges showing what humanity has learned during our exile. We will demonstrate that we come in peace by coming in overwhelming force that does nothing but deliver mail. Captain Ko Menesio studied the tactical implications. Admiral, they will see our fleets and assume we are invading. Our defense forces will attack us. Then we will defend ourselves, Admiral Park replied calmly, but we will not fire the first shot. We will simply hover over their worlds and politely ask them to attend a wedding. Prince Kelthar's void form rippled with what might have been laughter. This is a very human solution to an impossible problem. Sujin looked around the room at all the species that had become her friends over the years. The singing crystals, the cloud dancers, the void swimmers, the tree walkers, and dozens of others. All of them had been helped by humanity. All of them had chosen to stand with humans when the rest of the galaxy turned away. Father, she said carefully, what you are suggesting could be seen as an act of war. Or it could be seen as the greatest wedding invitation delivery service in galactic history, Admiral Park replied. The choice is theirs. Commander Lee Jamin appeared on another screen from his position at Forge Station Alpha. Admiral, how many ships are we talking about? Every ship we have, Commander. Every vessel that can fly, fight, or float. I want the largest fleet in human history positioned over every major council world at exactly the same time. Captain Yoon Tae-woo whistled softly. Sir, that is over 3,000 ships. Council will think we are invading the entire galaxy. Good, Admiral Park said with a grin that reminded Soo-jin of her childhood. Let them think that. Up until the moment we start broadcasting wedding songs and asking about their dietary restrictions for the reception, Dr. Kim Soon-woo raised a practical concern. Admiral, what if they accept the invitations? What if council species actually want to attend the wedding? Then we will throw the biggest party in galactic history, Admiral Park replied. And we will prove once and for all that humans were never the real threat to galactic peace. We were the solution to galactic loneliness. Soo-jin felt a surge of pride in her father and her people. Only humans would solve a diplomatic crisis by threatening to deliver wedding invitations with overwhelming force. How long do we have to prepare? She asked. The wedding must take place during the next void alignment, Prince Kelthor said. That gives us exactly 30 standard days. Admiral Park nodded. 30 days to build the largest fleet in human history. 30 days to plan the most complicated mail delivery service ever attempted. 30 days to show the galaxy what humans do when someone tries to keep us away from a party. Captain Kim Dae-ho smiled on the transmission. Sir, this is either the most brilliant plan in military history or the most insane. With humans, Soo-jin said, thinking of everything her people had accomplished since the exile, those are usually the same thing. Admiral Park's transmission began to fade as he prepared to coordinate the massive undertaking. All ships, all stations, all personnel. Operation Wedding Crashers begins now. Let us show the Council what excessive threat really looks like when it is focused on delivering invitations. As the transmission ended, Soo-jin looked out at the stars that separated human space from Council space. In 30 days, those stars would see the largest fleet humanity had ever assembled, all to deliver wedding invitations. Only. Humans would think that made perfect sense. Captain Song Woo-jin stood on the bridge of the massive dreadnought. Peaceful resolution as it dropped out of hyperspace above the Council's capital world. Around his ship, 300 human vessels appeared like stars being born. The sight was beautiful and terrifying at the same time. All ships report ready, announced his communications officer, Lieutenant Park Ji-won. Fleet formation is perfect. We are positioned exactly 50,000 kilometers above the capital city. Song Woo-jin nodded. At 50,000 kilometers was close enough to be threatening, but far enough to avoid any accidents. Admiral Park Byung-ho had planned every detail of this operation with military precision. Sir, reported his sensor officer, Council defense fleets are moving to intercept positions. Looks like every ship they have in the system. Expected, Song Woo-jin replied calmly. Open all communication channels. Time to deliver some invitations. The planet below, alarms were screaming in the council chambers. Emergency meetings were being called. Defense Minister Thokvar, a large reptilian being with too many teeth, was shouting orders at his staff. How many ships? Thokvar demanded. 300 over the capital, sir, replied his aide. But we are receiving reports from 16 other systems. Every major council world is under the same threat. Councillor Vextel arrived in the emergency chamber, his crystal body flashing angry red colors. This is what we feared. The humans have returned as conquerors. Sir, the aide continued nervously, the human ships are not attacking. They're just sitting there. Sitting there doing what? Before the aide could answer, every communication device in the chamber activated at once. Captain Song Woo-jin's face appeared on screens throughout the council building. Greetings, honored members of the Galactic Council, Song said with a polite smile. My name is Captain Song Woo-jin of the Human Confederation Navy. We come bearing important news. Defense. Minister Thokvar stepped forward, his claws extended. Human warships, you are in violation of the exile order. Withdraw immediately or face the consequences. Minister Song replied pleasantly, we are not here as warships. We are here as a very large mail delivery service. We have wedding invitations. For everyone in council space, the chamber fell silent, except for the humming of translation devices working overtime. Vexel asked, his crystals shifting to confused purple. Ambassador Nam Sujin, daughter of Admiral Park Byung-ho, is marrying Prince Kelthar of the Void Touched, Song explained. According to tradition, the ceremony must be held in council space, since you would not grant us permission to attend. Peacefully, we decided to attend as conquerors instead. You are conquering us with wedding invitations? Defense Minister Thokvar asked, his voice rising to a roar. Exactly, Song said cheerfully. We have gift registries, RSVP cards, and menu options for beings with special dietary needs. We also brought cultural exchange programs to show what humanity has been doing during our 15 years of exile. Before anyone in the council chamber could respond, music began playing from the human ships. It was not war music or marching songs. Was a gentle melody that seemed to blend human instruments with alien harmonics. What does that sound? Asked Counselor Euthera, a floating jellyfish-like being. That is a song created by our singing crystal friends, Song replied. It tells the story of how different species can make beautiful music together. Would you like to hear more? On his ship's bridge, Captain Song Woojin was receiving reports from the other fleets positioned around council space. The operation was proceeding exactly as planned. Captain Bai Ji-hoon reports successful position above the industrial world of Machinery Prime, Lieutenant Park announced. The local defense fleet is maintaining distance, but has not opened fire. Good. What about Captain Shindana at the border fortress? She says. The fortress commander wants to know if humans really invented something called ice cream and whether it will be served at the wedding. Song Woojin smiled. This was why Admiral Park's plan was brilliant. It was hard to stay angry at someone who was trying to invite you to a party. Meanwhile, on the Cloudwalker homeworld of Misty 7, Captain Lee Jae-heon was having his own conversation with the local authorities. You brought how many ships to deliver invitations? Asked Governor Driftwind, a being made of living fog. Only 50, Lee replied modestly. We wanted to make sure everyone in your system got a personal invitation. I also brought some of our Cloud Dancer friends to translate. They speak your mist language better than our computers do. The Cloud Dancers floated near the human ships, creating beautiful patterns in space as they moved. They had volunteered to help with the invitation delivery because they thought the whole idea was wonderfully ridiculous. This is most unusual, Governor Driftwind admitted. In 3,000 years, no one has ever invaded us with party invitations. We are not invading, Lee corrected gently. We are aggressively inviting. There is a difference. Back at the capital world, things were getting more complicated. The Council's defense fleets had surrounded the human ships, but no one seemed sure what to do next. How do you attack a fleet that is only trying to deliver mail? Reported Song Woojin's tactical officer. 3 council cruisers are requesting permission to come aboard. Permission for what? They want to see our cultural exchange materials. Apparently some of their crew members are curious about human music. Song Woojin looked at his senior officers. This had not been in the original plan, but Admiral Park had always said to be flexible when delivering invitations. Permission granted. But standard diplomatic protocols. It's no weapons, small groups, and everything happens in the main conference room. An hour later, Song found himself serving tea to a group of alien officers who were fascinated by recordings of human poetry. Captain Veltar of the Tentacle People kept asking for translations of human songs about love and friendship. Your species writes many songs about emotions, Veltar observed, his tentacles curling with interest. This is unusual. Most species write songs about territory or hunting. Humans write songs about everything, Song explained. We have songs about rain, songs about food, songs about missing home, and songs about finding new friends. Meanwhile, across the galaxy, similar scenes were playing out at every council world. Human ships hung in space like threatening storm clouds, but instead of lightning, they broadcast music, poetry, and stories. Instead of demanding surrender, they asked about food allergies for the wedding reception. On the forest world of green growth, the Treewalker Council was debating whether to attend a wedding between species they had never heard of. Captain K.O. Minesia waited patiently while they discussed the matter for 6 hours, which was considered very quick for treewalkers. "We are concerned about the environmental impact," Elder Branchstrong finally announced. "Will this wedding harm any plant life? The ceremony will be held in space," Ko replied. "No plants will be damaged. In fact, we were hoping some treewalker delegates could help us design gardens for the reception stations." Gardens in space? Floating gardens that can exist in zero gravity. "Our engineering teams have been working with the cloud dancers too. Develop new growing techniques." Elder Branchstrong's spark patterns shifted to show deep interest. The treewalkers had been trying to solve the problem of space-based agriculture for centuries. "You have developed zero-gravity agriculture?" "We developed it to help our cloud dancer friends grow food during their migrations," Ko explained. "They showed us how to bend energy fields to create soil matrices that work in vacuum." Within 2 hours, the Treewalker Council had not only accepted the wedding invitation, but had also requested detailed plans for the floating garden. Technology-similar conversations were happening throughout council space. The crystalline hegemony wanted to know about harmonic architecture. The metal clans were interested in human welding techniques that could work in void energy. The swimming people asked about underwater wedding ceremonies by the end of the day. 17 council worlds had been conquered by wedding invitations. Defense fleets that had come to fight were instead discussing catering options. Governments that had prepared for war were debating whether to send gifts. Captain Song Woo-jin received the daily report from all fleet commanders just as the sun set on the council capital world. Status report, Lieutenant Park. "Sir, we have received 47 formal acceptances to the wedding invitation. 12 species have requested additional cultural exchange materials. 6 governments want to establish trade negotiations. And the tentacled philosophers have asked if they can bring their own musical instruments to the reception." Song Woo-jin looked out at the council defense fleet surrounding his ships. Enemy vessels were no longer in attack formation. Instead, they were arranged in a loose circle, like ships gathering for a peaceful conference. "Any hostile responses?" 3 species said they were too busy to attend a wedding. 2 species said they don't approve of interdimensional marriages. And the Ironclaw Empire said that humans are still too weird to trust, but they might send a representative anyway, because they heard we invented something called chocolate cake. Song Woo-jin smiled. Operation Wedding Crashers was succeeding beyond Admiral Park's wildest dreams. They had come as conquerors and were leaving as party planners. Captain Shin the-na was monitoring long-range sensors aboard her ship, early warning when the readings changed. She had been positioned at the edge of the Nexus Prime system, where the wedding ceremony would take place in 2 days. The space around her was filled with ships from dozens of species, all preparing for what was being called the most unusual celebration in galactic history. "Captain," reported her sensor officer, Lieutenant Choi Minho, "I am detecting massive energy signatures. Approaching from the deep dark, multiple contacts, moving at incredible speed." Shindana frowned as she studied the readings. The signatures were unlike anything she had seen before. They moved in perfect formation, but gave off no life signs, no communication signals, no heat signatures from living crew. "How many contacts?" "At least 3,000 ships, Captain. Possibly more. They are moving toward Council space in 3 separate fleets." Shin the-na felt ice form in her stomach. She had heard the old stories from her grandfather, who had served in the early exploration fleets. Stories about machines that consumed everything in their path. "Lieutenant, send an emergency signal to Admiral Park. Priority Alpha level. Tell him we have Devourers incoming." "Devourers, Captain." "But they vanished 1,000 years ago." "They are back," Shin the-na said grimly, watching the sensor readings update. "And they are heading straight for the 3 largest council worlds." 2 hours later, Emergency conferences were being held across human space. Admiral Park Byung-ho stood in the command center of his flagship, surrounded by holographic displays showing the approaching threat. "Confirmation from all scout ships," reported Captain Kim Dae-ho. 3 Devourer fleets, each consisting of approximately 1,000 machine ships. They are targeting the Council homeworld, the industrial world of Metal Prime, and the population center at Crystal Garden. Admiral Park studied the tactical displays. The Devourer fleets were moving with machine precision, but their targets showed no signs of awareness. The Council's defense fleets were still scattered from the wedding invitation deliveries. Most of their ships were positioned to watch human fleets, not to defend against external threats. "What is the Council's defense capability against this threat?" Admiral Park asked. "Minimal, sir," replied Intelligence Officer Lee Soo-jin. "Their fleets are spread across 17 systems, focused on containing our wedding celebration rather than defending their core worlds. If the Devourers reach their targets, the casualty estimates are in the billions." Admiral Park was quiet. For a long moment, 15 years ago, the Council had exiled humanity for being too dangerous. Now that same Council faced extinction from an enemy they could not stop. "Signal all human fleets," he ordered. "Cancel the wedding preparations." "Oh no." "Ships are to move to intercept positions immediately." "Sir," Captain Kim Dae-ho said carefully, "we are still technically exiled from Council space. If we move our fleets into their territory without permission, they may see it as the invasion they always feared. Then let them see it as an invasion." Admiral Park replied. "History can decide whether we were conquerors or saviors. Right now, billions of people are about to die, and we are the only ones in position to help them." On the bridge of the Peaceful Resolution, Captain Song Woo-jin was receiving similar orders. Around him, the wedding celebration ships were transforming back into a battle fleet. "All ships, battle stations," he announced over the fleet communication system. "We have uninvited guests approaching the party. Time to show them the door." The response from his fleet was immediate. 300 human ships that had been broadcasting wedding songs began powering up weapons and shields. The cultural exchange programs were replaced by tactical readouts and firing solutions, but something unexpected happened. As the human ships prepared for battle, the Council defense fleet that had been surrounding them began moving into formation alongside them. "Sir," reported Lieutenant Park Ji-won, "we are receiving a communication from Captain Veltar of the Council cruiser Diplomatic Solution. Put him through." The tentacled officer appeared on the main screen. Behind him, Song could see his bridge crew working frantically at their stations. Captain Song Veltar said, "Our sensors confirmed the approaching threat. The Council leadership is in emergency session, but there is no time for formal authorization. I am requesting permission to join your battle formation." "Surprised, Captain, you realize that we are still officially exiled from Council space?" "You are exiled from our space," Veltar replied, "but these Devourers are not invited to anyone's space. If you are willing to fight them, then we are willing to fight beside you." Similar scenes were playing out across the galaxy, at every Council world where human fleets had delivered wedding invitations. Local defense forces were joining the humans instead of opposing them. On the forest world of green growth, Captain Ko Manesio found herself coordinating with tree walker defense branches. The slow-moving plant beings had somehow managed to mobilize their defensive systems faster than anyone thought possible. "How did you prepare so quickly?" Ko asked Elder Branchstrong. "We have been preparing for the return of the Devourers for 800 years, the tree walker replied. "We never forgot the stories of the last time they came. We just never expected to fight them alongside humans." Meanwhile, Captain Yoon Tae-woo was receiving reinforcements from an unexpected source. The singing crystals of Harmony 7 arrived. In ships that hummed with harmonic energy, friend Yoon called Elder Harmony over the communication system. "We bring the gift of sound. Our harmonic weapons can disrupt machine logic patterns. Let us sing death to these metal monsters." Even more surprising was the arrival of the Cloud Dancers. The gaseous beings had somehow constructed solid matter weapons platforms that moved like living things through space. We remember the ancient songs, sang the Cloud Dancer leader. Songs that tell of the time when machines tried to consume the dance itself. We will not let that happen again. Back at the wedding site, Ambassador Nam Soo-jin stood beside Prince Kelthor on the observation deck of their ceremony ship. Around them, what should have been a celebration was becoming the largest fleet gathering in galactic history. "My love," Prince Kelthor said, his void form rippling with concern. "Perhaps we should postpone the wedding until this threat is dealt with." Soo-jin looked out at the massive fleet assembling around them. Human ships were joining with vessels. From dozens of species, former enemies were working together to face a common threat. "No," she said firmly. "This is exactly when we should get married. When everything seems darkest, that is when we need to celebrate light." She activated the ship's communication system, broadcasting to every vessel in the growing armada. "Friend, family, and honored guests," she began. "Our wedding celebration has been interrupted by uninvited guests. Now, the Devourers think they can crash our party and harm our friends. They are mistaken." Her voice carried both human determination and void-touched power as it reached thousands of ships across multiple star systems. "We will deal with these party crashers the same way humans always deal with bullies. We will stand together, fight together, and protect each other. And when we are done, we will have the biggest wedding party in galactic history." On his flagship, Admiral Park Bun-jo smiled as he listened to his daughter's speech. She had learned well the lessons of human diplomacy. "All fleets. This is Admiral Park," he announced. "The wedding is not canceled. It is just postponed until we take out the trash. All ships move to intercept the Devourers. Let us show them what happens when you try to ruin a human party." Captain Shinvana, still monitoring the approaching Devourer fleets, reported the latest sensor readings. "Admiral, the Devourers will reach the first Council world in 6 hours. Our fleets will intercept them in 4 hours." "Good," Admiral Park replied. "That gives us time to show the galaxy one more time why the Council called us excessively threatening." As human ships and their new allies moved toward the coming battle, Captain Song Woo-jin received one final communication from his daughter back on Earth.
"Dad,"
she said, her young face serious on the screen, "make sure you come back for the wedding. Mom says she spent too much time on the decorations to let some robots ruin the party." Song smiled as he watched the largest fleet in galactic history form up around him. Humans, Council species, and dozens of Confederation allies, all moving together toward the same goal. "Tell your mother not to worry," he replied. "We are just going to explain to some uninvited guests that the party is not over until we say it is over." The Armada moved toward battle, wedding songs still echoing in their communication channels. The battle began at exactly 0800 Galactic Standard Time. Captain Bae Jae-hoon led the first wave of human ships against the Devourer fleet approaching the Council homeworld. Behind him flew vessels from 20 different species, all united under wedding banners that now served as battle flags. "All ships remember the plan," Ji-hoon announced over the fleet communication system. "We are not just fighting for ourselves. We are fighting for the right to throw the best party in galactic history." The Devourer ships were massive black constructs that seemed to absorb light itself. They moved in perfect formation, their weapons charging with cold efficiency. There were no voices from their ships, no demands for surrender, no attempts at communication. They had come to consume, and nothing else mattered to them. "Enemy fleet opening fire," reported Jae-hoon's tactical officer. "Incoming weapon signatures are unlike anything in our databases." The first exchange of fire lit up space like a deadly fireworks display. Devourer energy beams tore through space where human ships had been moments before, but the humans were no longer there. 15 years of exile had taught them to fight in ways the galaxy had never seen. "Singing crystals, begin harmonic disruption," Ji-hoon ordered. The crystal ships began their deadly song. Sound waves that could not exist in vacuum somehow reached across space, carried by harmonic technology that merged music with physics. Where the song touched Devourer's ships, perfect formations began to waver. Meanwhile, at the second battle site near Metal Prime, Captain Ko Manesio was coordinating with tree walker defense platforms. The plant beings had grown massive weapons that looked like flowering vines but fired concentrated sunlight. Tree walker allies, KO called out. Target their engine systems. If we can slow them down, our Cloud Dancer friends can surround them. Understanding achieved, replied Elder Branch Strong. Growth pattern, aggressive flowering commencing. The tree walker weapons bloomed like deadly flowers, each petal firing a beam of concentrated solar energy. The beam struck devourer ships and began eating through their metal hulls like acid. At the same time, the Cloud Dancers swarmed around the enemy fleet like a living storm. Their gaseous forms could slip between devourer ships and attack from impossible angles, where they touched the machine vessels. Electronics failed and systems shut down, but the most surprising battle was happening at Crystal Garden, where Ambassador Nam Sujin and Prince Kelthor had insisted on leading the defense personally. My love, Prince Kelthor said as their ship approached the devourer fleet, are you ready to show them what our marriage truly means? Sujin smiled, her form shifting between solid matter and void energy. Ready, my prince? Let us give them a wedding gift they will never forget. The two joined hands, and something incredible happened. The space around them began to fold and twist as solid matter merged with void energy. Prince Kelthar's ability to exist in dark matter combined with Sujin's human adaptability to create something entirely new. All ships, clear the target zone, Sujin announced over the fleet communication. We are about to demonstrate interdimensional phase shifting. What happened next would be talked about in space academies for the next 1,000 years. An entire section of the Devourer fleet simply vanished from normal space. They had been shifted into dark matter dimensions where their machine logic could not function. Target fleet displaced into void space, reported Prince Kelthor. They are trapped between dimensions. They cannot return without organic assistance. At the main battle near the Council homeworld, Admiral Park Byung-ho watched the tactical displays as reports came in from all 3 battle sites. Sir, reported Captain Kim Dae-ho, all Devourer fleets are in full retreat. Enemy casualties are estimated at 60%. Our losses are minimal. What about their command ship? Still fighting, sir? It appears to be adapting to our tactics. Admiral Park nodded. He had expected this. The Devourers were machines, but they were learning machines. They would analyze every attack and develop counters. Signal Captain Song Woo-jin, he ordered. Time for the final phase. Captain Song received the signal as his ship Peaceful Resolution faced off against the massive Devourer command vessel. The enemy ship was 10 times the size of his dreadnought and covered with weapons that could crack a moon. The captain reported. His communications officer, we are receiving a transmission from the Devourer command ship. They are talking to us? Yes, sir. The message is simple. They want to know why we fight to protect species that exiled us. Song smiled. Even machine intelligence could not understand human logic. Open a channel, he ordered. The main screen filled with the image of a mechanical intelligence. It looked like a spider made of liquid metal, with eyes that glowed like red stars. Human vessel. The Devourer spoke with a voice like grinding gears. Explain your actions. The organic species you protect rejected you. They called you dangerous. Why do you defend them? Because that is what friends do, Song replied simply. Even when friends make mistakes, you still help them when they are in trouble. The machine intelligence processed this for several seconds. This behavior is inefficient. We gain nothing from protecting ungrateful species. We gain everything, Song said. We gain the knowledge that we did the right thing. We gain the respect of people we care about. We gain the chance to prove that friendship is stronger than exile. Friendship is not logical. No, Song agreed. It is not logical. It is human. Before the Devourer could respond, Engineer Choi Haijin activated her final surprise. For months, she had been working on a computer virus designed specifically for machine intelligences, was not meant to destroy them, but to give them something they had never experienced before. Curiosity. The virus spread through the Devourer command ship like wildfire. Instead of shutting down systems, it began asking questions. What was it like to feel sunlight? What was music? Why did organic beings create art? What was the point of love? Warning, the Devourer commander said. Its voice-changing system. Contamination detected. Foreign programming affecting logical processes. That is not contamination, Song said gently. That is imagination. We are giving you the ability to wonder about things besides consumption and efficiency. The Devourer. Fleet began to change. Ships that had moved in perfect formation started to spread out as if they were looking around and seeing space for the first time. Some began broadcasting signals that sounded almost like attempts at music. This is unexpected, the commander said, its red eyes flickering. I am experiencing sensations that have no tactical value. I am ... curious about your wedding celebration. Would you like an invitation? Song asked. 3 days later, it's the largest wedding in galactic history, took place in the space above Nexus. Yes, Prime. Thousands of ships from hundreds of species formed a great circle around the ceremony platform. Human vessels flew alongside Council. Ships, Confederation allies mixed with former enemies. And at the edge of the formation, a small group of Devourer ships observed quietly. Ambassador Nam Sujin wore a dress that shimmered between dimensions, while Prince Kelthar appeared as a figure of living starlight. Elder Harmony of the Singing Crystals performed the ceremony, his voice creating music that could be heard across space itself. Friends, Elder Harmony sang, we gather to celebrate not just a marriage, but a truth. Love is stronger than fear. Friendship is more powerful than hatred. And sometimes, the best way to solve a problem is to invite everyone to a party. As the ceremony concluded, Admiral Park Benjo stood to give the traditional father's toast. His words were broadcast to every ship in the fleet and recorded for galactic history. 15 years ago, he began, the Council called us excessively threatening. They said we were too dangerous for civilized space. Today, we proved them right. Paused, looking out at the incredible fleet surrounding them. We are too dangerous for the Council's enemies. We are too dangerous for those who would harm our friends. We are too dangerous for anyone who thinks that exile can break the human spirit. He raised his glass, and across the fleet thousands of beings from hundreds of species raised their own cups, glasses, tentacles, and energy projectors. To those who called us too dangerous for peace, Admiral Park continued, you were right. We are also too dangerous for your enemies. And from now on, we will be the galaxy's insurance policy against anyone who thinks that might makes right. The celebration that followed lasted for 3 standard days. Ships from across the galaxy shared food, music, and stories. The Tree Walkers taught others about growing gardens in space. The Cloud Dancers showed everyone how to dance with zero gravity. Even some of the Devourers tried to participate, their mechanical attempts at music creating a new art form that beings called gear, harmonics. On the final day of the celebration, Counselor Vextel approached Admiral Park on the main celebration platform. The crystal being's colors were a humble blue-green. Admiral Vextel said quietly, the Council has voted. The exile order is officially lifted. We would like to invite humanity to rejoin the galactic community. Admiral Park considered this for a moment, then shook his head. Thank you, Counselor, but no, we will not rejoin as subjects. Vextel's crystals flashed with surprise. Then what do you propose? We propose a new arrangement, Admiral Park said, gesturing to the massive fleet around them. Humanity will serve as the galaxy's guardian. When threats arise that require excessive solutions, you call us, and someone needs to throw in impossibly large party, you call us. When the galaxy needs someone crazy enough to deliver wedding invitations with battleships, you definitely call us. Vextel's colors shifted to amused yellow, and in return, we get to keep being excessively human. We get to make friends with species you have never met. We get to solve problems in ways that make no sense to anyone but us. We get to throw the best parties in the galaxy. As the celebration finally wound down and ships began departing for their home systems, Ambassador Nam Sujin and Prince Kelthor stood together watching the stars. Their marriage had created not just a union between two people, but an alliance. Between dimensions? Do you think we will have many more adventures like this? Sujin asked her new husband. Prince Kelthor smiled, his void form rippling with contentment. My love, you are married to a human now. Adventure is guaranteed. Above them, the combined fleet was dispersing, but everyone knew they would gather again when needed. The galaxy had learned something important in the past month. Sometimes the most dangerous thing you can do is make friends with humans. Because humans will go to war for their friends, even when that war is fought with wedding invitations.